Okay, folks, so this is going to be video number one, and welcome you to our new channel, Fate of the World. I don't know how often I'll be actually posting videos, but I don't know, it eventually just kind of got to a point it was really chapping my butt how much BS that they were really trying to shove down our throat with the start of this coronavirus. And I'm going to kind of go over a timeline just looking on the web of, major events that have actually happened, and, kind of call out and give thoughts on what these major events and things that were going on kind of ran through my head at the time they were happening. Um, so let's see here. We'll start back around. Let's see here. March 2nd, COVID-19 reaches pandemic proportions, they announce. Let's see here. March 3rd, death toll rises in Italy. March 4th, companies start making people work from home. March 5th, school districts shut down. March 5th, California declares state of emergency. March 5th, Congress approves $8.5 billion in emergency funding. Let's see here. March 6th, South by Southwest is canceled. Major blow to the Austin economy there. Let's see here. There was one that I was looking for in here that just kind of jumped out at me a minute ago. Let's see, March 9th, Italy expands lockdown. March 10th, Coachella postponed. March 11th, WHO finally designates it a pandemic. Oh, man. March 11th, Tom Hanks tests positive. Now, I'll kind of come back to this if I don't forget about it as far as the celebrities that actually all tested positive. We'll start with the one thought until I can actually find the actual date of it, if at all. At one point, they made an announcement that the COVID-19 virus had surpassed the SARS death toll. Now, I don't know how many actually recall that, but from what I could find on it, there were only 67,000 confirmed cases of SARS, 45,000 of them recovered, and there were only 1,700 deaths. So it didn't really take a whole lot to surpass that, to be honest with you. And that wasn't saying a whole lot for the new pandemic that was supposed to wipe everybody out here. That was just ridiculous. March 15th, U.S. cases passed 3,000. March 16th, first vaccine trial start. That was pretty quick. And they still haven't done anything with that. Oh, let's see here. It's a lot of little milestones that come through the entire month of March. March 22nd, first Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky tested positive. But anyways, we'll go ahead and touch on that for right now, since there's a couple of them that are popping up, and before I actually forget. So initially you had Tom Hanks testing positive for COVID-19. Then you had Rand Paul. One of the bigger ones that really had caught my attention initially, I didn't even know about Tom Hanks, but Idris Elba, the guy that was in the Avengers movies, when he made his big Twitter announcement with his wife that he had tested positive, and that was kind of a surprise. But I went to go out and look at the actual Twitter message, and the guy looked healthy as a horse. Didn't seem to even look like he was under the weather. Most people, when they even have a cold for that matter, you can see that they look a little bit under the weather. They might have bags under their eyes, might be covered up in a little bit heavier clothing to try and keep warm or whatever. He looked healthy as a horse. Um, Now, that being said, off the top of my head, I can't really recall all the other numbers of people that have actually tested positive celebrity wise, but there's been a few of them, a good handful or more. And not a one of them had any major side effects from it. They all recovered, no problems. Um, which brings me to a closer event that hits closer to home. More recently, I had a family member that had tested positive for COVID-19. And, I'd even told this family member directly. I hate to say it, but I was kind of waiting for it to happen, whether it was, you know, hopefully not me, but anybody that I knew um, that actually did test positive. I wanted to find out what it actually was, what their symptoms were, how they felt, and it kind of confirmed the suspicions that I had up to that point that, this whole COVID-19 thing, it's a bunch of crap. I don't care what anybody says that, oh, my neighbor's got it, or I have another relative that has it, or I know somebody else that has it, and blah, 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 whatever. They didn't die. I'm almost certain of that. Unless they already had a compromised immune system, they were already battling some other terminally ill condition, they didn't die. It wasn't any worse than a common cold, lasted about 5 to 6 days at worst. Um, it's a bunch of crap, people, and if nobody has seen that by now, you deserve what you get at this point. Um, I hate to say that, but if you're that dumb and you really don't see what's going on, you deserve it. You deserve everything bad that's going to happen to you or coming your way. Because right now, I don't know what the agenda is. If there is one, there has to be with the amount of crap that's going on. What it is again, I don't know. Like I said, the initial thoughts that come to mind are what always happens with a major event like this, whether it's with SARS, uh, the swine flu, bird flu, whatever. Every time they come out with some new flu or virus, it's supposed to be the next big pandemic that wipes everybody out. But if you go back and you look at these major events, most of them usually occur right around an election year, or there's something else major going on the sidelines in the periphery that they don't want you to notice. And I hate to say that that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. Um, Again, we're coming up to an election year. Things are getting crazy. First of all, we get the COVID-19 virus that starts to kind of wane off because they don't have the story together. They don't know what to tell anybody, where it came from, how it started, what the death predictions are from it. Are you going to die? Is it curable? Is it not curable? So when that starts to lose traction, that's when you come out with the murder hornets. And, I kind of compare that to the sharks with lasers, unfortunately. But, they're grasping at straws at this point. And they just don't know what else to do. Unfortunately, the whole murder hornets thing was just so ridiculous that didn't get any traction at all. So then, when that just kind of fades out suddenly and without any other word of it, quite honestly, it hit so fast and then nothing. You don't hear anything about murder hornets now. So when that died off, they had to think of something else. Something bigger that was going to grab the attention of the public and keep your attention drawn away. So that brings us to the unfortunate incident just recently with, I believe it was George Floyd. Um, Huge tragedy, I hate to say, but even more so, hate to say that that was a bunch of crap as well. Not only for the reason that he was killed, but now for the things that are actually coming out about it. There's a bunch of pictures that are out on the internet now. You can probably see most of them yourself, and I'll try and add them into the video. If not, just post them somewhere. But the cops that were involved in the incident, a lot of people are saying they weren't acting like real cops. As far as their demeanor, the way that they were talking to Mr. Floyd, just the way that they were acting. You know, cops definitely have a demeanor to them, whether they're, you know, tussling with somebody trying to get them under submission, if they're resisting arrest, or just in general have you pulled over. They have a demeanor to them, and it stands out. These quote unquote cops were not exhibiting these characteristics at all. There's one specific picture of, I believe it was the one Asian police officer. There was a close-up picture of his left chest where the badge is normally at. He didn't have a badge on. It was like an iron-on picture of a badge. That's how fake it was. Not only that, the many intricate details of how they had him taken down, putting a knee to the back of his neck. One, he was already handcuffed. There was really no way he was going to be resisting with the cop on top of him. So there was no need for the cop to have his knee on the back of his neck at all. That's just plain and simple uncalled for. On top of that fact, the same cops that were involved with the George Floyd incident, there are pictures of the same four cops that were clearly pointed out. And one of them, let me see here if I can find that picture. One of them, if I'm not mistaken, was from Sandy Hook shooting. You can see all four of the same cops there. The Boston bombing, that's where they were. They show a picture of two of the cops running, one of the other cops standing by the side as the two are running by him. Now, it's a bit odd that you find all the same people in these same incidences, and I know everybody thinks conspiracy theory, but pictures don't lie. These are clearly not Photoshop. I've worked with Photoshop for many years myself, and it's not hard to spot something that's been clearly Photoshopped. The pictures themselves, sorry about that. The pictures speak for themselves. So what's going on with that, I don't know. I can honestly tell you this, probably nothing is going to come from it as anything else in the past where it's proven that it was fake. Nothing comes from it. So that's about all I can really say about that at the moment, unless something else pops into my head. So moving on with the COVID-19 timeline, so to speak. Late March, around 26th or so. Obviously, everybody's already been sent home for lockdown, forced to go home from work. Nobody's got an income coming in unless you're fortunate enough to be able to work from home, which the majority of people weren't and still aren't. So unemployment claims start to set record numbers. Now, I can understand you got a lot of people that are trying to file for unemployment, myself included. Um, but moving towards the end of this past month here, um, was just barely when I was actually able to get a hold of unemployment. And I was talking literally every day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the phone calling. If I wasn't, in the bathroom taking a piss or getting something to drink or grabbing lunch, I was on the phone 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. trying to call and get through. And if anybody else out there has done the same thing or still going through it, you're familiar with the process. You basically call, you either just don't get through and it goes through a busy signal, immediately hangs up, or you get the automatic recording that basically tells you, sorry, we're too busy to take a call, try again later. Well, you can only try so many times before you really start to get frustrated and want to give up. But I got lucky, and I'll tell you how. It was purely by accident. I was trying to do my unemployment filing online. Couldn't do it because it wouldn't take my password. So I tried to do the password reset. It came back, emailed me the password reset link, but when I clicked on it, tried to go back and reset my password, it was telling me that my password, it was telling me that my email and the account for the password reset didn't match. So how the hell does it not match if it just sent me the email to my address to reset my password? So that was when I, still had to keep calling, and again, I got lucky by accidentally just saying, well, let me just try and see if I can, instead of just straight through trying to go through the do I need to file for unemployment option, let me see if I can try the automated process for resetting my PIN or my password. I don't know how, but as soon as I hit that button, number 2, to reset password, to get help with the reset password, I was expecting an automated process. No, it literally shot me through to a live person almost immediately, and they did the filing for me right there on the phone. Literally took about 15 minutes, and my unemployment got filed. Again, they're not telling you this, and it doesn't even say anything on the menu when you call in that says, if you need to speak to somebody to file your unemployment, press number 2. No, that's option number 1. Option number 2 is if you need help for resetting your PIN or password, press option number 2. Option number 3 is if you need help with anything else. Option number 3 obviously doesn't do anything. It's the same as option number 1, just runs you in circles. So again, I got, purely lucky with that, and was able to file my unemployment. But even still, the fact of the matter is I had to call back again because the first person that did it didn't file it correctly. And for some reason I noticed something else and called back, and luckily got through again using option number 2 again. But after that, they were telling me if I need anything else to go to option number 3. Now again, option number 3 just runs you in circles, just like option number 1. And this late in the game, you can't tell me that their phone lines are still that flooded. Texas is big, but we don't have that many people. We're just spread out all over the place. There's not that many people that it's going to take them almost 3 months that they're still flooded with calls constantly from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I don't buy that. So, not only that, it brings us to my next thought of the second stimulus package. The first one, that I don't know. That's going to be a long story there because obviously everybody knows. Yes, it helped. They did it quickly. I'll give them kudos for that, but it didn't help crap. $1,200. Most people, myself included, you can barely pay rent and your utility for 1 month. That doesn't leave you money left over for anything else. Period. And at this point, almost 3 months in, they're arguing that we don't need another stimulus at this point. They want everybody to go back to work. They're talking about giving people a stimulus incentive to go back to work, but how do they expect people to get to work if you don't have money? Most people right now are probably having so many sleepless nights and worried sick that they don't know how they're going to pay their bills or rent, anything else. And they want people to go back to work and, act like nothing's happening. So right now where we're at with the Senate is, I really don't know, because their story is changing almost by the hour at this point. It seems 1 minute you hear a story or a headline that, yeah, you're going to get another stimulus, and then the next minute it's, no, sorry, we're going on vacation, screw you, we got money, we're not worried about you. That's ridiculous. So the big issue that they're having right now over the stimulus for the next stimulus, so to speak, is they're not looking at reality. They know what reality is. They see it. They know that $1,200 wasn't enough. They know another $1,200 isn't enough. At this point, they're so far behind, it's ridiculous. The only thing that could possibly save them is, at minimum doing a $2,000 a month for the next couple of months. But right now they're arguing over the unemployment numbers, and statistics is what they're arguing over. Right now they're saying that the unemployment rate is dropping. Well, the unemployment rate isn't dropping apparently because people are still trying to file. If you've got people constantly filing day in and day out from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that your unemployment rates are not dropping. So what they're basing their facts off of, I don't know. It's ridiculous. They're also going off statistics that are saying spending is up. Don't know how, because people don't have money. Right now you've got most places that are in that gray area of, are we open, are we not open? I don't even know if we're open around here. Obviously people just don't give a crap right now, and they're going out. People just don't give a crap right now. They're fed up with it. They're done. They're doing what they want to at this point. This George Floyd issue. I'm going to go back to that for a second because that brings me to another thought that I had kind of skipped over. But with the officers being apparently fake or set up, whatever, you've probably seen the other issues that a lot of these locations where riots and protesting was happening, there were mysterious pallets of bricks that were being left out in the middle of the road. No construction going on in sight, and there just happens to be pallets of bricks for people to throw, I would assume. Not only that, I've seen video of they've I can't remember who it was. Again, I wish I could find most of this stuff, but I wasn't really thinking of doing it at the time. I saw a video of a pedestrian that was attending a protest, and as he was walking by, I believe it was like an SUV of some type, and there were three men in the vehicle. One of them gets out, dressed just normal street clothes. The guy says he looked like he was going to a protest. I don't know what protest attire is, but I would assume just because he had a mask on his face or he was trying to cover up his face. But one guy gets out, and the other two guys stay in the vehicle. Uh, well, he talked to the guy that got out of the vehicle as he was walking past him. Uh, Determined that he was, asked him, and he said he was going to, attend the protest, and he asked him some other question. I can't remember right off what it was, but basically he was trying to determine who he was, if he was a cop or anything. Like, the guy basically lied to him and told him, "No, I'm not a cop. With he said he was with a news agency or some kind of press. That's what it was." And so he's like, "All right, whatever, great, have a good time." So then he goes back to the SUV, and he basically confronts the two guys in the vehicle, and catches them in their lie. He's like, "Hey, what are y'all guys doing? Are y'all with the press?" And they're like, "No, we're not with the press." He's like, "Are y'all cops?" "No, we're not cops." He's like, "Well, your buddy that just got out of the vehicle said y'all were with the press. Looks like he's going to the protest." And they didn't have any answers for him. They just kind of basically shut him out and didn't answer him anymore. And he left it at that. But a lot of these things are looking like they're staged or just set up. Again, I hate to use these examples, but they are what they are. I mean, if you can't see these things with your own eyes, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so let's move on a little bit with the timeline here. Confirmed COVID cases exceed 1 million, April 3rd. Okay, I haven't really seen that number anywhere, but okay. So somewhere in the middle here, towards the beginning, about a month or two ago at this point, was when the whole ruckus with the pandemic video came out. And if nobody's watched it, I would recommend, as much as you probably don't want to, go watch it. You'll be surprised. Yes, everybody says, the lady in there was discredited or whatever, but nobody ever said what she was discredited for. At least I haven't seen anybody come up with any solid facts of saying why she was discredited. So, Deborah Bricks, that's what her name was. I think that's her name. Nobody has given any facts saying why she was discredited or what for. They just base their whole fact that, okay, she's discredited, so her documentary has no merit. Well, if you watch it, it doesn't take a PhD to use common sense and see that, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. No, it's not the David Icke or David Icke, however you want to pronounce his name. It's not that far-fetched as far as the whole 5G thing causing the coronavirus, although, I hate to say it, if you haven't watched that one, go watch it, because there's a lot of stuff in there that does make sense. His 5G stuff is pretty far-fetched, I'll agree with that, but a lot of other stuff in there does make sense. So, if you haven't watched those two documentaries, I would definitely recommend watching them. Okay, so let's move on here now. April 11th, UK warning obese people being at greater risk of hospital. No shit. It's a given. It's like saying people with cancer are at greater risk of dying. No kidding. Okay, April 14th, U.S. halts funding to the World Health Organization. Yeah, that was obviously stupid. Again, doesn't take rocket science to figure that one out. Social distancing. Oh, this is ridiculous. Okay, we're really pushing 30 minutes at this point, but again, for first video, obviously it's not going to be the greatest, but hopefully it gives you something to think about. Hopefully I'll put out more. Hopefully, you'll watch this one at least to the end. Um, and I'll try and do a little bit better on the next one, but we'll see how this one goes. See what kind of feedback we get on it. See what kind of thoughts it generates between anybody that does watch it. Okay, one other thought before we actually do go. There might be a few more, but one major issue that they were having, again, this is not made up. The White House actually made this press announcement. You can go find it and watch it yourself. The test that they were using to determine it, as far as I know, that they're still using to determine whether you're positive or negative for COVID-19. The doctor himself that invented that specific test has plainly said it should not be used for testing for COVID-19 because uh, correct me if I'm wrong, the antibodies or whatever that it does test for, everybody already has them present in your body right now. It's just a threshold of how much is there, whether it says you're positive or negative. Now, that being said, anything, any number of things can set that threshold off. Not one of them, not withholding being the COVID-19 virus. There's any number of things that can set that threshold above the bar that will test positive. So it will give false negatives. Now, again, the doctor that invented the test has plainly said that test was not designed for that. It shouldn't be used for it. On top of that, the White House had come out at one point when they were making a big hubbub about the death toll numbers from COVID-19. They had come out and done a press conference that said something along the lines that the reason the death toll numbers are so high is because they're telling doctors or morticians, whoever does the final determination, that they have a certain criteria that they're supposed to mark a body as statistic wise dying of COVID-19, whether that was the actual reason that they died or not. So let's say, just as an extreme example, you come in for a stub toe or a staph infection, you die from that, from the stub toe or the staph infection. But at the same time, you do have a COVID-19 virus, an actual positive case of COVID-19. Well, just because you died from that staph infection or stub toe, they're going to label that as a COVID-19 death. That's why the numbers that they're giving out are, so high and so ridiculous. They're wrong. They've got so many people, with their buttholes puckered up, worried sick because they think you open the front door and you're going to get COVID-19 and die from it. It's a fear tactic that they're using to just keep people bottled up, and it was going to explode at some point, and unfortunately it did with the whole George Floyd thing. And that, unfortunately, I hate to say it, that's probably not the end of it. There's probably going to be something else coming up, so we'll see. Again, thank you for watching this. If you did watch it to the end, if you have any questions or comments, you'd like to point anything out or add to it, especially, more than welcome. Leave a comment. Fate of the world's in your hands.